Things we did as kids, right here in the front room, just talking about the early to mid 70s, growing up in Hegwish, this community.
Hegwish!
On the far southeast side of Chicago.
Southeast side rules.
And just starting high school was a big change in your life, huge. And we had great neighbors on the block. I lived on 129th and Commercial, right near Mann Park, of which we never really used the park. We did use the park a lot, but when we were very young, we'd want to play baseball on everyone's front yard, play wiffle ball or play catch or running bases, that sort of thing. Just so funny, you have the park right there. I remember a lot of the older ladies on the block, get off the lawn, why don't you, there's a park right down there. Yeah, but there's your front lawns right here. It's just something we did. But we had great neighbors, and our next door neighbor, we had one next door neighbor on the north side of the house, and he was kind of a grumpy guy. And then we had neighbors on the south side of the house, and they were neighbors since I was a little kid. The Smagases lived there, and they moved out in 1969, which was, wow, they're moving out. What are we going to do? Who's going to move in? And we got these new neighbors, and very nice. They seemed nice. I was 69. I was still a fairly young kid. And the Matusiks moved in. And Mr. Matusik was really involved with his children. They had 3 boys. And I was at that age where you could still play with little kids and kind of going with your age and younger kids. You were stuck between playing cars, playing football. I myself like to play drums. I was into music, so I'm playing drums, playing football. Not really that great at football, but kids wanted to, you're going to play sports, you want to play baseball? No, I wasn't that much, but you try to be in with the in crowd, right? So as it turns out, as we got older, I've gotten bands because I was a musician, drummer, and then I got with some older kids that were a couple years older than I, and they were pretty popular in the neighborhood. I thought it was, wow, we're big shots now, And we started rehearsing, of course, at my house because I was the drummer, and my mother and father had a very nice finished basement. My dad did it in the late 50s. Knotty pine, had the bar, the whole kit and caboodle, the old Frigidaire for the beer fridge. And we brought all the gear down. We brought in PA, huge PA, a B3 organ, the Leslie speakers. My friend Ronnie was in the band. We had Eric Lambert was in the band, and quite a few others, Perpich, and all these kids from the neighborhood. And we'd be playing all the high school dances and all that stuff. So we had to rehearse, we're rehearsing, doing all the cover songs, all the things you thought were cool at the time, things like Montrose and Deep Purple. Mr. and Mrs. Matusik move in, and it's a nice, quiet neighborhood, and then we start blasting. We would rehearse, start at 7. Some of the guys had jobs and, school jobs, things of that sort, so we'd rehearse 6:30, 7 o'clock, and go to around 10. You try to push it, right? You're always trying to push it a little more. Just one more, couple more songs. My parents didn't mind. They'd be down there, they'd be downstairs listening and having a few cocktails, and of course, at that time in the 70s, we were still young, but we all had beers going on and cocktails plus other things as well. So I'll never forget, we're blasting, we're playing, Highway Star by Deep Purple, really loud, blaring. And we had the windows closed, but you could hear it. And you could see this picture, the gangway in Hegwish, there was probably, I would say maybe it's 8 feet, 10 feet if that, the space. And that's pretty wide for, south side Chicago, the houses are even closer together. So we're blasting, and it's around 9:30, and I know Mr. Matusik pounding on the window. Kubik, you better shut up. You better shut it up. I'm going to call the cops. And he, of course, called the police many times. And I don't actually think it was Mr. Matusik. I think it was bothering Mrs. Matusik. And she was there with the cattle prod. Just go, you stop that, Jerry. You get out there and you stop that. And they're quite funny. So we'd have to cut it, and the cops would come, and it just wasn't band rehearsal. It was an event back then. You have to understand, there were 16, 20 cars parked on the street that didn't belong there. That were all our friends that would come and listen to us rehearse. So besides being a rehearsal, it was a massive party. The basement would be packed with people, and I know some of you out there were there and remember that. it was payback time for Mr. Matusik. Payback time. And as you can see in the picture again, that's his bedroom window right there. That top window that's open on the right, that's the bedroom window. So we go partying, go out to Bird and Sun, go out to the South End, go out to Dolphin, Eggers Woods, where the party was, Lock and Dam, didn't matter. Wherever the party was, we went. Didn't matter if it was a school night or the weekend. That's just the way it was back then. So we'd get back and we say, Mr. and Miss Matusik, they're probably really sleeping tight right now, like babies. So we'd go to the old arsenal that we had back then, and it was, of course, the old fireworks box, and pull out a couple M80s. That, or we might have a silver salute laying around. And we'd just sneak up. We didn't have much sneaking to do. We'd lay it right where that basement window is right there. Put two M80s there. Be smoking a cigarette. We'd light, you smoke the cigarette like this. All right, and then you light the M80 off your cherry there. We put it right down on those rocks and hightail it over to the garage right there in the back, the garage. And we disrupted that night and many others, and it was a little payback time for Mr. Matusik, all in good fun. Things we used to do when we were kids. I miss those times. Right here, Front Room. We'll see you.